Mayor.
Well, I can't hear her, so I don't know what.
So,
Okay.
does the motion pass?
The motion is passed, 1838 will be revised. Okay. Okay. Next is the ordinance number 12, 1837, adopting the final budget for the year 2012 and setting forth the estimated revenues and appropriations. Got it?
The public hearing.
Okay, this is to introduce the public hearing. This is, the mayor was presented with the proposed preliminary budget on October 1st, and he provided council with full copies, including the request from the department. On November 2nd, the mayor provided council with his preliminary budget and the budget message. A public hearing was held on November 13th to provide an opportunity for testimony from citizens on revenue sources, including the proposed tax levy increase and the preliminary budget. On November 19th, the preliminary budget was, as revised, was made available to the public, and the council held a workshop providing an opportunity for staff to present requests for changes in the allocations for their department, and council the opportunity to ask staff questions and provide direction. This is the second opportunity for public input, as being the second hearing on the budget for 2013. The preliminary budget is available. Updated sheets for the general fund, summary sheets have been distributed. The updated sheets are the results of the council workshop and discussions this morning with the public safety director. Of course, all of those numbers are going to change now. At the workshop, there were some questions that were discussed with council, or council asked on questions about. I tried to fix anything that I could find that was there were some typos. Some things that it appeared council wanted changes. Among those things that were changed were, we added a 5th officer. We went through this morning a lot of the changes that the state auditor has made in the chart of accounts. I don't know if you have individual questions. And the council at the workshop forwarded the budget to the finance committee, which meets tomorrow night, for further discussion. This public hearing is held on this date to meet statutory requirements. It can be continued to a date at the next meeting or some other date, any date you choose, if you would like, because it's obviously not in final format at this point. But that's a matter up to council. The hearing has to be held before the first Monday in December in order to meet the statutory requirements. That's what this is doing tonight. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to give it my best shot with answers.
Any questions from the audience? No.
I move to continue until the first business meeting in December.
Okay.
Councilmember Holden moved to continue the first meeting in December.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been seconded by, been moved and second. The chair recognizes the maker of the motion.
Since we don't have the final budget in front of us, at least not one that we can approve tonight, finance committee meets tomorrow night, it would be appropriate to continue the public hearing at the first business meeting in December.
The chair recognizes the, second motion.
Now, that's, yes, I concur, but I just want to make sure that, since that's a workshop, that we're going to have a special meeting, or we're going to have a continuation.
First business meeting.
Huh?
First business meeting.
So not, okay, so you're talking the 10th.
So that gives us a chance
Okay,
to go
I
to,
just want to make sure.
that gives us a chance to go to the committee tomorrow, workshop on the next Monday, and then bring it back up for last public hearing.
Councilman Walker.
Is your intent to allow comment tonight and then continue the meeting?
That's correct.
So I think it's premature to vote on this then.
Is there any, comment from the council?
We need to postpone this vote until after our public comment. Because if we vote now, it moves to the next meeting, so.
He hasn't even opened the
Oh,
public
okay.
hearing.
So do we, I don't know how to make that
I think the
motion.
motion's premature then.
Yeah.
So do we withdraw the motion?
Set it on the table.
Typically on a motion, the council would speak to the motion, and the audience could make their comment, and, that
It's
would
just,
come back for a
we
vote.
can't continue the hearing because he hasn't opened the hearing yet.
Right.
We need to open the hearing before we move to continue it. So,
Any other comments
I
from the
would,
council?
I withdraw my motion at this time.
Draw my second.
Comments from the audience?
So, he withdrew his motion, so I
Oh,
think,
he withdrew his motion?
yeah, I think he's gonna make it again after the public hearing. After folks get a chance to talk, I think he's gonna
He's gonna make it
make it again, so we can do a second public hearing in December.
And continue the public hearing in December.
So what do we do with this?
So I think now you open the public hearing on the ordinance, so that
Okay.
folks can come talk about it.
Well, now we'll open a public hearing for the ordinance 12-1837. Any public comment? You can't, you only started. If you're talking tonight. I don't understand this, because you people just saw the documents for tonight, how can you make a comment? And on top of that, you're so complex that you have to be a first-class accountant to even get close to it. That's what I don't understand. Okay, there's no public comment.
Make one.
Okay.
Through the mic.
Jean Fancher, 37248 55th Avenue South. I would really appreciate the department heads for giving some justification or reason for the budgets they've submitted. I know I've been watching the budgets for about 4 or 5 years now, and I don't mean to pick on the police department, but you guys have officers, detectives, you had a traffic officer, a couple of sergeants. There have been no police reports per se for almost a year, no crime statistics, no traffic statistics, no indication of who is being served, who is being arrested, whether they're in traffic court, whether they pay fines to the state and the county, or if all their fines go to traffic school and it comes to the city. We haven't had anything from the Public Works Department that talks about needs of the parks, new equipment for parks. We've had a recommendation from the Park Board, but there's no department head, so no justification for their budget. The Community Services or Human Services Director is not here to tell us what she would intend to do with her section of the budget. It sounds like it's kind of like a rubber stamp. You get a wish list and then it's not questions, it's nickels and dimes questions about a few dollars here, a few dollars there. But I don't hear any reference to the comprehensive plan, to the transportation plan, to the parks and trails plan, to the capital facilities plan, just a
Point
rollover.
of order, we're not criticizing or we're not discussing the organization or the council members or the mayor or anybody. We're discussing
Excuse me,
the
but I don't
budget.
think you're allowed to interrupt my public comment.
This- okay,
That
this
you're
is
not
public
allowed to
comment
interrupt my
on-
public comment.
On the budget,
My comment is on the budget.
On the budget.
I'm commenting
By
on the
dollars.
budget.
okay, by account.
I
by
don't have
segment.
to account by dollars and cents. This is my public comment. If you wish to
Your,
squelch me,
your
why don't we
time
ask
limit
the
is up.
attorney?
I'm sorry, your time limit is up. 3 minutes.
Is it?
No, I paused it because she hasn't had a chance to finish her stuff.
Okay, go ahead and finish.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking now, because my train of thought's been interrupted.
Go ahead and finish.
All right, I would like to see somebody from Public Works talk about what the Parks Department funding is intended for. I would like to see somebody from Planning talk about or justify the need for a city engineer. I'd like to know whether or not sound inspections is going to continue as a contract inspection service. I'd like to have a little bit more background. Yes, we've just received the paper copies, but maybe I'm the only one who's questioning why the numbers are what they are. And as a citizen, a taxpayer here, I'd like my $13,000 tax increase that's not being made to go into community services. I'd like to see whether or not the top-heavy management at the police department is going to be pruned a little bit. I'd like to see people on the streets. I'd like to see cops up in my neighborhood, but I don't hear anything about, 5 officers, 4 officers, 6 officers. Everybody's got to bite the bullet if we're going to have enough money for insurance. And I'd like to see some direction from you, Mayor, as to the departments and whether or not we're going to meet those targets so we can have insurance, if that's the intent of the council. Got 3 sections. Thank you very much.
I'd like to make one comment. What you like to hear is what we're going through for reorganization. And you'll hear all about it after we get the reorganization complete.
So cart before the horse.
Now, where do we at with this now?
So we're just in the public hearing, so there isn't any motion.
Okay.
This is just,
Is there any other member, any other public comment?
Howard Erickson, 324 Butte Avenue. I've been down here about 6 times in the last 8 years, and I always ask about the same thing. When are we going to put some money in these streets? I look at the wages being paid out of the street fund, and I look at the material that's being proposed to put on the streets. It doesn't make any sense to pay out thousands of dollars for wages and put small numbers of material on the street. Now, I'm telling you, I've told them before, nobody wants to listen. If you don't fix the cracks in some of these streets, when you got grass growing out of them, you're going to have water running in them. Now, if you can't seal these streets up, you better go down here to Pastor Gauze and start praying that we never get a hard freeze, because if we do, it's going to blow these streets up like you can't imagine. So I have that comment. I think you better look at the amount of material you're programming for the streets in the forms of asphalt and crack sealing and stuff like that. If you have the equipment out there to do it, it needs to be done. The other thing I want to bring up is I don't know, I couldn't find it, Betty could probably correct me on this. The fire hydrants in this town require maintenance. For many years, the fire hydrants were rented by the water department to the fire department. Took the money out of current expense and put it into the water, into the water department for fire hydrant maintenance. Now we have Valley Regional Fire Authority. Fire hydrants are still out there. I don't see anybody doing any maintenance on them, but they have to be worked on occasionally for different things. At one time, I think the maintenance was like $4 per fire hydrant. That money went into the water department. The water department repaired fire hydrants and kept them operational. We don't need to have another fire like we had a few years back. They went down there and turned the water on and was in water. So, that's my other thing. But I do see something in the budget that says something about insurance on the fire hydrants. And I don't know if the city's paying that or if that money's coming from Valley Regional Fire Authority or where it's coming from. I think there's something like $4,600 in there. But I do think that somebody should be paying for the maintenance on these fire hydrants. The taxpayers in this town, if you had a $150,000 house roughly got done in a couple of $100. The Valley Regional Fire Authority, as far as I'm concerned, as long as they want to do the fire protection, they should have to maintain the fire hydrants, so the city should get the money from them for the city to take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. You made a good comment about the street and the water and fire and the whatever. You also made a comment about the organization and where the money is going. You want to know what's happening. I can give you a summary on that. You're right, Howard, the streets are in bad condition. Where do we get the money from? That's the reason why we're trying to reorganize so that we can have some money to go to the street and the water, the infrastructure. That's the water delivery system, the sewer, and the storm. That hadn't been worked on for many years, and this is the big push that we're working on the budget, and we're trying to do what we can to improve the community. Any other public comment? I'd like to say one more thing. It's not, you don't do it overnight. It takes a long haul and a lot of energy to get where we think we want to be. Let's move on to the new business.
Two more times for public comment and then close the
Two more
hearing.
times?
For public comment and then close the hearing.
Okay. Already closed the hearing.
We want to continue it.
Any other
We
comments?
want to continue.
I move to continue the public hearing to the first business meeting in December.
Okay.
Second.
It has been moved that the public hearing be continue the first meeting in December. And second the motion.
First business meeting, December 10th.
December 2nd?
10th.
10th. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you good. December 10th? Thank you. Now, do we vote?
Do you recommend we make a motion?
The chair recognizes the motion made by Mr. Halsey. Would you like to speak about?
I'll reiterate what I said earlier. Budget Miller's near ready for approval. It can't be approved tonight. It goes to Finance Committee tomorrow night. They'll bring it back to the workshop next Monday, and then we'll be able to have the final public hearing and vote on a budget that will be acceptable to the council on the 10th.
The chair recognizes the second motion.
No additional comments? No additional comments.
No additional comment. Any debate from the council? Any comments from the audience? Any additional comment, debate from the council? Okay, could you restate the statement? I didn't hear it.
So the motion is by Councilmember Halsey to continue the public hearing on Ordinance 12/18/37 to the first business meeting of December, which is December 10th, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It has been moved to December the 10th. To continue.